Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the Real Grade God Gundam Hyper mode, and of course this is from Mobile Fighter G Gundam. As you can tell from the box right there, this is a little bit different than your average real grade release, and this is a Gundam base exclusive. This of course is the God Gundam, or as it says in the box there, Burning Gundam, in hyper mode, completely gold plated. Out of box it looks absolutely incredible. We do get a very nice display base with this as well, but like it does say on the box, this is a Gundam base exclusive kit, so you can either fly on over to the Gundam base and grab one of your own, or you can get yours where I got mine, and that is through those awesome people over at Bai, and there will be a link down there in the description. Now let's check it out. Is that hand of yours burning red for free, GUNPLA? It's Loud Roar telling you to grasp a real grade God Gundam. Enter Bai's Gundam Fight now and win the Gundam base exclusive real grade hyper mode God Gundam. This one right here. All you have to do to win this kit is click on that link in the description, be signed up to Bai, and enter your Bai email address in this box right here. It's that easy. Contest terms in the description. So on busting open the box, you're greeted by a whole ton of yellow and gold runners. I mean a whole lot. If you like a colorful kit or a little bit of variation, this one may not be it, but if you love plated kits, this may be one of the nicest ones I have ever seen. So inside the box we do get the full standard real grade God Gundam, just in the multiple shades of gold. There are 2 shades of shiny gold, as well as 1 rough and tough injection gold, which is for all of the joints, because just in case you don't know, plated gold parts are ridiculously brittle, so be careful with those. Usually there isn't any plated parts on plated parts, but there are some around on the wings, so they are worth, being careful with. When it comes to the build of the actual God Gundam itself, it's the same 11 runners we would have seen before. The build is ridiculously intricate. This is one of the most intricate small-scale Gundam kits of them all. The amount of actual articulation pumped into this, the amount of moving sections, it is completely off the charts. Of course, building gold on gold on gold on gold does mean they all kind of blur together while you're building it. Also, I will mention there's a weird kind of kickback from this kit being completely, well, mirror coated, and that is if you're working under some lights, it will blind you ever so often when you're actually moving it around. The light just catches right in it and shines it right back in your eyes. On top of that, there is the issue that when you do nip out plated kits, there is dots where you do nip out. Now this does happen on some surface areas, even though a lot of this kit is undergated. Underneath we do have a kind of golden colored plastic, so the nip isn't so bad, and once you do get it all together, it's not really all that noticeable. When it comes to the actual stickers in here, we don't have the sticker sheet we would have seen with the standard real grade. All we do have is this small little sticker sheet for some certain aspects. That is for the little Shuffle Alliance logo inside of its chest. That's just a sticker, you do put a clear part over it, and we do have some for up in the shoulders too, to just add a little bit more dimension to the actual full hyper mode, and we do have some for on the eyes as well, and I have to say the eye stickers on the God Gundam are pretty damn bad, but the eyes are so small once you get the head put together, again, not the biggest deal at all. Again, the build of the real grade God Gundam is a ridiculously rewarding build. It just builds up so perfectly, intricately, and it's one of the best small scale builds around. Now it does have some tiny finger bending parts, so your hands might be burning red by the time you're finished with it, but it is worth it in the end. Now there are a couple of extras inside the box which never came with the standard release version, which are just for this kit right here. Mainly the biggest thing we get is a big backdrop which does feature Domon and Master Asia himself. This is pretty cool, and if you have a bit of an eagle eye, you'll recognize that this is from that master grade samurai styled Gundam. This one right here. I don't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but that's what it came with. So there are some leftover parts from this, but once you get it complete, it makes quite the ridiculous display piece. Although the real grade God Gundam is essentially almost perfect, Bandai did make the mistake, I feel, of actually cramming in some MS joints. So the B runner in here is the upper and lower arms, so the majority of the arms on this kit are done with the MS joint, which, in case you don't know what that is, it's what gives kits early real grade syndrome. These are pre-designed and pre-built on the runner, so they are actually very stiff at first, but over time get really loose. Thankfully, this kit doesn't really have to hold up too much, so it's not that noticeable, but there are a lot of looseness issues in the arms you won't find with the rest of the kit, which builds up like a mini master grade. If you've ever wanted yourself an absolutely phenomenal Hyper Mode God Gundam, this is it right here. Now let's check it out. So when you get it built, this right here is what it looks like out of box, and it looks like a trophy or something. This looks incredible. Now, personally, I will just mention right off the bat, I've never really been the biggest fan of plated kits. They're not always done so well. This, however, has been done spectacularly. The two shades of shiny gold are very subtle but work extremely well, and we do have the injection gold, which bounces off it really well and gives the joints some nice strength and integrity. Overall, pretty cool. So yeah, what can I say? This kit definitely wins out in the aesthetics department. The main reason for this is the fact that it is built on an absolutely phenomenal foundation. The real grade God Gundam was an incredible kit. When you think of small scale kits with tons of detail and tons of articulation married together perfectly, the real grade God Gundam is definitely up there. Now, what Bandai has actually done with the plating on this kit has worked out so well. We do have two shades of the actual plated gold. That is your typical yellow gold, again looking astounding, and we do have a nice warm orangey gold too, where all the red parts would have been. The colors have been separated up really nicely, and even though it is very subtle, it makes a nice difference separating those parts out visually. And speaking of visual separation, we also do have injection gold here too. This is a very nice injection gold, mind. Sometimes injection gold can look a little bit bad, mainly because it's trying to do a kind of yellow gold, but this is doing a nice platinum style gold, which does work nicely. Of course, that particular kind of plastic does mean that this can take a little bit of movement. Standard plated plastic tends to be brittle. There is some issues around the wings, which I'll mention later on, but they've just married the colors together phenomenally. When it does come to other aspects like stickers, there are a couple in here. The eyes could be better, but they're not that noticeable when the kit is finished, and we do have one inside of the chest as well, which we'll take a look at very soon. But yeah, this catches the light fantastically. It looks spectacular. It's going to look great in any collection, and well, I don't think I've ever seen a plated kit look quite this nice. So when it does come to plated kits like this one right here, my first thought is always, how are the nubs? Because those are the kind of things that can be a bit of an issue. For example, flashback to the high-grade Gundam Phoenix. It's got these little kind of dots all over it because the nubs are right in the surface. You cut them, there's no plating, of course, underneath the nub, so it's just black. Now, that's not something that's been completely avoided on this particular kit, but it is a whole lot better than something like that. First off, Bandai did use a kind of yellowy plastic underneath. For example, here is one of the runners, and here is a knife. So yeah, if you actually give it a bit of a scratch away like so, you can see that it is a yellow plastic in underneath. Now, of course, that isn't optimal, but it's definitely better than a very black plastic when you're nipping in. So that's the kind of effect it will have, not too noticeable from a distance. Thankfully, a lot of the kit is undergated, so you're not going to be getting too many nubs on the surface while snipping it out, but there is a few, sadly. In some places, like you can see right here on the side of the leg, you can see there's a nub here. There's also another one right here that are quite noticeable if you get in real close. But of course, well, actually, that is 3 in close proximity, so they do kind of stand out noticeably. And I suppose the more you look around, the more you start actually seeing. So there's a nub on the shoulders. That around on the front as well. It is. Now that's a very rough one right there. So of course you can get yourself a Gundam marker or something else with a bit of gold paint to try and cover that up, but you will never get it perfect, which is a little bit sad. However, being such a small scale kit, once it's up on your shelf, you won't really notice it per se. I do think the shining, brilliant gold does outweigh the fact that there is a nub here and there, but if you are a perfectionist, this may drive you mad. But yeah, a plated kit isn't really for everyone, and neither is injection gold either. Bandai can do some very good injection gold, like we saw on the Winged Dragon of Ra, but again, all of this usually comes down to preference. A shiny God Gundam kit is kind of like a classic sort of deal, so I think the good definitely outweighs the bad. So at this point I was going to compare it to the standard real grade version, but I cannot for the life of me find it. I really need to sort my storage and label it a little bit better. That kit came at a very strange time, so it does mean I didn't actually get it kind of labeled and put away correctly. So there's just some footage on the right hand side. It's a fantastic kit, was beautiful, and this is a very gorgeous variant. Also inside the box we do have some stickers. As you can see, I used 6 of them actually. As for the circular one right there, that is inside of its chest. The gold ones right there, those 4 gold ones, those are inside of the shoulders. And the other one there, 9, is just the eye sticker. It's a little hard to lay down, but once it's actually in there, the head covers up most of it, so it's not such a big deal. But not the greatest eye sticker around. Difficult enough. So jumping into a size comparison, and once again the standard size Gundam test using the high grade RX-78-2 on the left and the real grade on the right. So as you can see, the God Gundam is in and around standard Gundam height, just with some rearranged proportions. Moving through some other kits now, there's the high grade Dragon Gundam, high grade Gundam Maxter. I have no idea where Gundam Rose wandered off to, so there's Gundam Barbatos, Gundam Exia, and the high grade Gundam Ariel. So jumping on into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with this particular version of the real grade God Gundam. Now this does come with everything the standard God Gundam did come with, just in the kind of hyper mode colors. So the swords with hyper mode handles, all of the hands are hyper mode colored. That is 11 in total, including the fists attached. We do have a full action base stand. The big rings are around back, as well as the parts for attaching them on. But what truly makes this kit unique, on top of the nice gold plating, is the cool display backdrop that we get in here as well. This is quite the spread. So for the vast majority of the stuff in here, it's exactly the same as what we would have seen with the full release version of this kit. So if you want to know more about those, you can check out the review. But as for what they look like, first up, the hands in here are in that nice injection gold. Again, light, not too typical injection gold looking. As well as the standard fists in here, we also have holding hands, widespread hands with the fingers extended, flat palmed hands, and these did come on the B runner, the MS joint runner, so it does mean they have an included little joint in the wrist, which is extremely nice. So it just bends just like so, and like so. So next up in here, we've got a super widespread pair of hands. Now these are off the runner that would have been the effect parts. So if I'm not mistaken, in the last kit they would have been in green, but in this kit they are in gold. Now it is a slightly different shade of gold, and it is shiny as opposed to, well, semi-gloss. And depending on your own kind of perspective, this may or may not be a little bit of a letdown. Maybe you would have wanted them to be in a bit of an orange shade to kind of have that God finger style look. Which brings us directly into the last hand we have in here. Now this is the only one that's a single hand, so this is just a right hand. It is for doing the God finger, and once again it is just in that shiny gold with the kind of glitter inside of it. So there's no clear effect parts or bright effect parts inside of this box. Just pop off these lights right here and here, and let's see, does this react to the UV light? Oh, no. Oh, that seems like such a letdown. The kind of slightly different color remind me somewhat of the kind of cool gold that we did see on the Mighty Strike Freedom. Oh, that's certain missed opportunity. Next up in here, we do have the beam sword, so a pair of these. Again, exactly the same as we saw in the last kit, except we do have a golden handle. That does mean it does have the same sort of issues as before. So there is a seam line right there on the side and a bit of an obvious nub up top. Overall though, not the worst, and does exactly everything we would have seen it do before. But finally, that does bring us to the super fun part of the actual accessories in here, and that is the cool backdrop stand segment. So I will mention there is a choice. You've got this side right here where you've got Domon on the left and you've got Master Asia on the right. Around then on the back you've got this variant. So you can pop this, you can actually just take this little section here, slide pieces of card out, turn it around, slide it down so you can have it super moding back here with that big old explosion in behind it. So I thought this side looked a little bit cooler, so I went for this one. We do have a stand included, so you can use that with it. And I'm going to pop on these as well to kind of get it set up on this. Now what I really wanted was to pop this up on the stand a little bit in the back and have the standard version of the God Gundam in front, but like I mentioned, it has gone AWOL on me for now. I'll get that sorted and found by the time the Shining Gundam real grade releases. So I'll have the 3 of them popped on this. So in order to get this set up in your ultimate hyper mode real grade Gundam display, first off, you do need to get this attached onto the included stand. That's super simple because this kit does not need an action-based adapter. There's a handy dandy little butt flap opening segment which allows you to get right into that 3mm peg. Popping it up onto the stand is super simple, and next up it is time for those big halos round back. Attaching these is mildly difficult on this version for one main reason, and that reason is the wings round back are actually all plated parts on plated parts, so the central aspects are really stiff. They're also really brittle plastic, so it feels like you are stressing it out a little bit. I wouldn't really move these around too much, they're too tight. Plated parts on plated parts fit tightly, and that is the case here. As for attaching on the halos, that's simple. You just pop them onto the little included rack section, and then they just attach on just like so. This right here is what you get, and it really is an insanely cool display. There is definitely plenty of space on here for putting another couple of G Gundam Gundams on it. Like I said, I'm going to get the Shining Gundam and the standard God Gundam on there. That is the overall plan when the Shining Gundam drops next month, is it? Anyway, that right there is it for the review. This is a really cool kit. I'm usually not too gone personally on plated kits, but Bandai did really well here. There are the occasional nubs here and there all over the surface. They're not the worst, but at the same time, they're not the best. The plating is beautiful. The overall presentation is fantastic. And if you do want one of these of your own, I'll throw a link down there in the description to buy. I'm not going to rank this kit because it is very, very different to a standard kit, but it's still just as awesome as the standard God Gundam, with a couple of issues being the plated parts on plated parts not feeling too great, and the nubs here and there. Anyways, always thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, all these videos on here would not be possible without each and every one of you guys watching these videos, so thank you so much. And special thanks to those of you who are helping out over on the Patreon, as well as on the channel members, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe or G, 59061, Scotty Thomas, Simon, and Van Fawn.